Signs. He'll be a good partner to you. Part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, I want you to go back to my page and check out part 1 because I go over the first 4 tips, 4 signs that you need to hear that are very important, very helpful for you to find out the difference between a good partner and a good lover. And just to sum up what I said earlier in part 1 from the intro, there's a huge difference between a good partner and a good lover. A good lover knows how to persuade you, flatter you, infatuate the whole moment of the situation where you kind of ignore red flags. You kind of ignore crossing boundaries. You kind of ignore selfish acts because the love is so hot, and sexy, and fun, and amazing, and passionate. I've heard of too many stories that, Coach, oh my God, it was so amazing. Great. Love it. Love it. Want it. But if it's not coming down to someone being a good partner, a good person, a good role model, someone of high character, been there, done that. Been there, done that. Because you at the time when you want a relationship, you need to value, you need to prioritize compatible qualities, which is about someone who's mature, emotionally available, humbled, grateful, present, aware. So number 1 on this is a huge one that I've always, the stories I hear as a coach from the women I coach, and I do coach men as well, let you know that. The stories I hear, I immediately, it's like, all right, that's not good. But they somehow try to cover it up or just excuse the situation or just try to like sugarcoat it in a way. And I'm like, nah, I don't know if that's a good thing. So the first one is they're nice to waiters. Good partners are nice to waiters. And not just waiters, not just the food service, but you understand the metaphor. They're nice to everyone. They're not just nice to the owner of the restaurant. They're not nice to just their CEO friends or financial advisors and investors. They're nice to everyone. They're nice to the Uber driver. They're nice to the waiter. They're nice to the janitor. They're nice to front desk. They're nice to the hostess. They're nice to everyone because they're not defined by trying to show off or show up someone who might be at their level, status, or even more. They don't care about that. They want everyone to be happier where they are and take pride in what they do. Because again, that's the humility they know as a good partner. They're old enough or at least experienced enough to know that, I appreciate any help when I go out. I appreciate any service when I go out. And so I've heard so many different stories where these men or even a couple times these women treat their date, my client, amazing, but a little rude to the driver. And not because he's a bad driver, just because he's a dick. They're a little demanding with the waiter, snapping at the waiter. But when the owner comes in, oh, beautiful restaurant, amazing. I'm going to write a Yelp. But the waiter, and you see the waiter who's trying, not that it's bad service. If it's bad service, I'm with you, just lower the tip. But just have a very on-off switch, they noticed in these scenarios. And I hear my client is trying to excuse that. Well, he had a bad day, or traffic was bad, or just trouble at the house. Okay, I get that. I get it. We've all had those. But if you make that exception for him to be someone to act better than or belittle someone for any reason based on his mood, I say that's understandable to a point where, okay, you can't be Mr. Rogers all the time. But you don't have the awareness to maybe not say anything at all or just keep it less is more in that situation so you don't have to make other people uncomfortable. You don't have to belittle people when you're in that off mood. Because eventually that behavior is going to translate to you. So when they have a bad day, off day, tough time at work, they're talking to you down, putting you down, judging you, critiquing you. I understand this might sound like a very sensitive or touchy subject because everyone's got flaws. Don't get me wrong. But they have to have the awareness of if they're having that tough moment, go on your own. or like, tell me, let's have this conversation later. Don't project your stress, your shit, your problems, your drama on someone like me who only wants to be with you and make you happy. Don't project your problems on someone who's only trying to service your food and drinks appropriately. That's a lack of awareness. That's a lack of maturity. And that's why good partners understand that, because they appreciate that. They've been the busboy. They worked their way up. They've humbled themselves through surrendering and sacrifice and the grind of whatever it is they've done, personally, emotionally, or even professionally. They've gone through it, so they appreciate good people. They appreciate good service. They appreciate someone who's just present and engaged. Whereas good lovers demand, expect, want, flash, flaunt. I'll tell you, living in Florida, that's the most thing I've ever seen in Miami. My goodness. The ego I see in restaurants of like competition between that bottle, bigger bottle, 2 bottles, 3 bottles and sparklers, 4 bottles, sparklers and dancers, 5 bottles, the biggest bottle with dancers, a billboard sign, and fireworks. And they're just constantly trying to one up each other. It's definitely entertaining, don't get me wrong. But you just see just someone pure ego. And it just... that's probably why there's a bad stereotype in Miami dating game. It's unfortunate. It's all ego. It's all money-based. So I always even tell my clients who I coach in Florida and South Florida, it's like, well, you have to value good partners, not just good lovers, because good lovers are all over the place. Everyone wants that. If it's a one-night stand or a fling or a rebound or a summer thing, sounds great. I've heard it all. I'm not here to judge. But if you're looking for a relationship, you have to value good partnership, good qualities, high character, maturity, humility, and someone who's nice to waiters. Which leads to number 2. I want you to listen to what I'm saying and not take it to the heart until I finish the title of number 2. He or she always follows through their promises. That doesn't sound very reasonable. That sounds quite impossible, coach. Always? No. I'm not saying he's perfect. I'm not saying they're great at it. I'm not saying it's smooth. I'm not saying he's always comfortably and active with it, but it doesn't go overlooked. It's not something thrown under the rug. It's something, and even if the promise is changed, even if the promise has been shifted or impossible or can't do it for whatever reason, they acknowledge that. They acknowledge the promise they made to a point where either they are trying to work on it, or they at least acknowledge they're not good at it, they need more time, or they acknowledge this is just not going to work the way I thought, I'm sorry. They acknowledge the actual promise transaction, and they hope to give you the result. But they are now basically will follow through with the fact that we had this discussion. They're not going to ignore it. They're not going to just downplay it, because they know that accountability, that credibility of someone's word, their promises, it says a lot. And one thing I always tell my clients, which I'll tell you right now, don't make impossible promises. I'll never go on Instagram again. Yeah, right. I've heard that so many times. I'll never. Don't even dare start that, because you're lying to yourself. You're a human being. You're going to make mistakes. Just try to get better than what you were before. Promise realistic results. Promise realistic expectations that you will get better than before. But to be from 0 to 100, from bad to perfect, to always doing something or always taking something for granted, to I'll never take you for granted. Now you really elevate this expectation of perfection, which no one ever is going to be. And you give someone that power to be like, see, you did this 10 times correctly, but number 11, what happened to that promise? And you're like, my God, 10 out of 11, still getting judged? Again, so there's a flip side on the sense of you don't make extreme promises. Make promises to get better than what happened before. Whatever caused the friction, the argument, the disruption, the disagreement, whatever happened. I don't know what it is. But there's something. Promise to get better. And commit to the promise of the fact that you're going to acknowledge if there's still potential for the result, the promise will come through, or you realize you need some more time, or, it's just not going to be able to happen now. Acknowledge that. That's a good partner. Which leads to the next one. A very underrated but overlooked and just somehow misconstrued quality is that you really feel comfortable around them. Yeah, no shit, coach. Not just comfortable where you're always in the romantic setting and looking good and making out and staring into each other's eyes. Comfortable where you don't feel like you have to bite your tongue. Comfortable where you don't feel judged. Comfortable where you don't feel like they're criticizing you. You feel comfortable to speak your opinion, and even if it was misunderstood or misdelivered, you're with someone who's a good partner saying, I'm a little confused by that. Did you mean what you said by that? And so I've had a lot of clients, unfortunately, say to me in a way where their intentions are amazing, their heart's in the right place, but sometimes the delivery or the actions don't line up to what they intended to do or say. And they're so scared to feel like they need to be perfect with the intentions matching the actions because the boyfriend, the lover, the toxic guy is going to flip it. He's going to go crazy. He's going to get mad. He's going to run away. He's going to break up with me. He's like basically on like the edge of this relationship blowing up constantly. Why do that? Because good partners won't do that. Good lovers want to put the relationship on the line of everything. They always want to, threaten you of leaving you or breaking up. Losing power is a bad situation for them. So they're not reasonable. They're not compromising. They're not cooperative. They're not patient. So I had a lot of clients be hesitant or fearful to actually speak their mind because they don't know how to perfectly deliver their actions or words from their intention. But if you're choosing a good partner, you know their intention's good. You know their heart's in the right place. And if they don't say something perfectly or act accordingly, you're with someone saying, did you mean what you said? Because I'm kind of confused about it. You know what? I didn't. I wish I said this, and I appreciate you. Great. A good partner wants to go further into it and not just judge, but be curious on wanting to understand what you meant by that, because they know that person's intentions are good. They know that person's heart is in the right place because they are valuing a good partner, not distracted by just a good lover. That being said, I want you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't, because I got part 3 coming up after this. And again, if you haven't seen part 1, go back and watch part 1. Leave any comments in your situation or someone you might know. Have you experienced the difference between a good partner and a good lover? We all have. And I'll say you want to know the difference. And if you don't, send me a message. I'm always here to help you as a coaching session. And thank you for watching. My name is Coach Andres.